Hi there. In the previous video I made on writing task 1, I tried to help you with useful language for it. Well, in this one, I'm going to take you through the steps of writing a successful text. So here we go. I hope you remember that the possible visual data representations could be line graphs, bar or pie charts, or even tables, maybe even a combination of these. Yes, you could get maps or diagrams, but we're going to deal with those in a separate video because they're quite different in approach. So if you get one of these, what you need to do is summarize the data, report the main features, and make relevant comparisons. These are your three missions. They are invariable, so keep them in mind. Now, I've chosen to look at a line graph task with you today. So the first thing I need to do is not panic, orientate. I only have about 20 minutes to write this, and the best thing I can do is make sure I fully understand what is required of me and what is given to me. So I'm going to read the task very carefully and highlight or underline the essential pieces of information it gives me. Then I'm trying to set myself up for writing more than 150 words. The sweet spot would be reaching towards 200. Finally, I look at the data, I look at the title, which is relevant, and at the vertical, showing the percentage of users in this case, the actual data, the age groups that I'm looking at, and of course the horizontal, which gives me, in this case, the timeline. Now, the next step would be to start writing my intro, so to summarize the data, in other words. What I want to do is to make sure that I am identifying the time frame correctly. And in this case, as you can see, this means that I need to use past tenses. So I mustn't forget that. I don't want to juggle with tenses that are outside of the data that I'm given and of the timeline that I'm given. So past tenses for this particular task. Then I'm going to use the rubric to write my own introduction by rephrasing it using my own words. And this is very important. Do not copy it. You will not get any points if you do. What you want to do is to use your own synonyms and therefore paraphrase the rubric. Feel free to pause and read at your own pace. I'm going to move on to the next step, which is select and report the main features, right? So these are your three missions. Summarize the data, report the main features, and we'll get to comparison in a second. Now, what I can notice is that all of the age groups started from a lower percentage of users and ended up with a higher percentage of users. And I'm also going to identify the most significant, the most obvious, the main features of the visual data. In this case, the highest and the lowest. And all I have to do now is to actually write my sentences describing this, the upward trend and the highest / the lowest points on it. Okay, I'm gonna, if you want to pause, fine, read the paragraph at your own pace, but I'm gonna move on and highlight a few things about it. First of all, see how I'm using a linker to introduce the idea of a general overview on the whole or overall. I'm also showcasing my grammatical ability here by using had encountered plus an adverbial that works well with a past perfect by the end of the specified time frame. I'm also trying to impress with my vocab, and I'm avoiding repetition. Instead of Twitter usage, I'm using Twitter activity or the app's use. And one other thing, very important, see how I'm slightly moving the attention towards comparison? Because I'm using the most insignificant change occurred among the people over 65. So obviously the reader now understands, hey, it's time for this writer to give me the meat, the comparisons. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I need to set up a logic and to write my paragraph. You can pause and have a look at it. I'm going to explain to you what my logic was throughout. All the trends move upward. That's a fact. So what I decided to compare, what makes the most sense to me, is to compare just how spectacular spectacular the growth was. Which of the age groups had a very significant increase? Which of them had the slightest increase? And which ones fluctuated the most? That's basically my logic through this paragraph. It's absolutely essential that you find one. And let me highlight a few things for you. Everything that you see here, although in both cases a steadier growth, more erratic, all of these signal the fact that I'm making comparisons. And it's absolutely critical that you have language for comparison in your texts. Let me highlight something else though. Let me highlight this. Doubled, and then the 6% to 13%, the age group of 18 to 29, just over 30%. So as you can see, it's not just about making comparisons in abstract terms. Your comparisons need to be supported by data, and you need to quote it very carefully in your texts. All right, let's put things into perspective a bit here. This is what a full text would look like. Yes, it's reaching towards 200 words. It's got an introduction, which summarizes the data. It's got an overview, which, reports on the main features. And it's got an in-depth analysis that makes the necessary comparisons and showcases the logic of this analysis. In my case, it was a comparison of how spectacular the increases were. All right, now it's your turn. Write your own texts. Let me know if you have questions, and good luck with your practice.